So Anna, let's come to you at GHD. You're involved in sort of helping the world get to grips with this, sort of trying to conceptualize this and trying to put strategies and policies in place. Um, do you find we've had a look at these sort of the problems? First of all, do we understand the problems? And secondly, are there solutions that we can provide? I think Kirsten alluded to that, sort of that localization and almost hyper localization and ownership. Um, are there solutions that people can bring to the table to actually have an impact?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. So I work for an infrastructure advisory firm, GHD, and I lead our sustainability, resilience, and ESG and transactions services. And I think it's a very big question. I think getting to grips with the size and scale of the problem is increasingly something that is realized. I think the solutions are also on the table, but I think Kirsten hit a very important point that is bringing it all together, and I think is a huge challenge. And I mean, I come from Scandinavia, so I think it's interesting to see some of the Scandinavian cities in terms of recognizing it as a multidimensional concept. Climate resilience for cities or urban environment, you need to look across the infrastructure that's needed, you need to look across social systems, and you need to look across sort of policy and governance. So I think what some Scandinavian cities have done is really interesting, and they do have resilience strategies, coming back to your point, in terms of that infrastructure resilience, designing, constructing. Equally important is to maintain the infrastructure so that it can sort of withstand, it can bounce back from climatic events. So that could be, building seawalls in areas that are exposed to sort of rising sea levels, or designing green roofs, as we've seen in Copenhagen, for example, that can help sort of manage stormwater and reduce the urban heat island effect. So I think that's one key factor. Social resilience is also critical. You may design the best infrastructure in the world, but it can't function without the people who sort of maintain and use it. So I think community preparedness, which again has been talked about by previous speakers, bringing that sort of social cohesion, and also taking into account sort of vulnerable populations, make sure that they receive the resources, the support they need, before, during, and after a climate event is really critical. And just lastly, I think that governance and policy resilience is absolutely vital. Anything from developing and implementing policies that promote that sort of sustainable urban planning, to encouraging the use of renewable energy, and critically providing the support so that consumers are that they're affordable alternatives. And also not just on renewable energy side, but in the UK, there's been a lot of discussion around sort of how do you best insulate your homes, and what kind of support structure can be put forward for that. And I think, ensuring that community members are considered in the resilience plan and really, really consulted, I think are all sort of key critical factors.
It's interesting.
Yes, I think the problem is recognized. We don't sort of have everything lined up, but I think the solutions are there, and I think we're seeing some good examples from around the world where shows it can be done.
I think one of the trends that we're seeing, and I think it happened. I think there was an awareness of this during COVID. I'm not sure if it happened, but there was an awareness of it. It's only one of the lessons identified. And of course, lessons identified is not the same as lessons learned, but nevertheless, it is about the importance of community engagement. That there has to be this genuine belief that the ownership is at the community level, and it is the role of central government or federal government or whatever to support communities, rather than to feel that these 20 or 30 people sitting in some office in central government can create and impose, a diktat solution by diktat. And I think that is one of the lessons that was identified. It just seems very, very difficult. There was always this discussion about it, but actually, for central government to relax and let go and to allow that autonomy to take place, there's a resistance, isn't there?
There is, and I think, but like you said, there needs to be sort of a thinking shift and an action shift. Communities need to be engaged, but also, as you say, critically empowered, both to have the autonomy to take decisions, but also the funding brought much closer to them. It is difficult, I think, for many local communities to understand, navigate, but also then critically access the funds that could be made available to them. And I think also, to your point, that engagement, it's not sort of a one-off before after an event. It needs to be frequent, and authentic, I guess, and really focused on how do you protect vulnerable communities, and how can you engage communities to get that broader community action.
I like that word, authentic. That's a good word. Authentic. It has to be authentic. It can't be tick box, and it can't be greenwashing. Great. Listen, great. I really like that, Anna. Thank you. And I look forward to looping around.